Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the Ladies Be Architects Platform Developer 1 Certification Study Group. And today we have a little bit of a detour with our agenda. So we're only going to have the session on Heroku, but everyone was very excited, and I know we've been waiting for this. So I'd like to introduce Charly, who's actually co-founder of Ladies Be Architect, and she's also a tech architect at Deloitte Digital US, and she's 16 times Salesforce certified. And I'll share a quick little personal story of how I met Charly. So for those of you who know me, I started studying for the administrator certification back, I think it was May-ish. And Charly reached out from one of my Twitter posts, and she had offered to help if I had any questions about what I was studying. And as we connected and I learned more about her and Ladies Be Architects, I was immediately intrigued, and I knew that I had to get involved somehow. And so it's actually because of Charly that I'm here, part of this group now. So thank you, Charly, for all the inspiration and everything that you do for all of us on our journey.
Well, Blanca, I can only say I'm impressed. I'm incredibly happy and proud that you are part of Ladies Be Architects. You're doing such a phenomenal job in running the study group, and it's all about giving back. I always get kind of embarrassed when people say I'm an inspiration, because most of the time I'm just trying to study these things myself. And if I can take somebody along my journey and help them, it usually helps me too. So, but yeah, Gemma and I are the two leaders for the women, the Ladies Be Architect Global User Group, and we are having such a ball of a time. We're having so much fun, and we're learning so much, which is amazing. So, Blanca, thank you so much for running the study group and for allowing me tonight to speak to you all about Heroku, something which I love. All right, so that said, I first want to do a shout out. Dreamforce is 2.5 weeks away, and I'm going to flick over and show you guys the Ladies Be Architect calendar for Dreamforce. And we're going to be there. Gemma and myself and Susanna and all the other Ladies Be Architect. Blanca can't join us this year. But we're going to be there, and we're going to be all over the place. We're going to be at the parties. We're going to be at the breakfasts. We're going to have, I think we have 4 official, 3, 4, I can't remember, official Salesforce speaking sessions where the 3 of us are sharing journeys, and we're going to do a whole session live CTA scenario planning. We're going to do a really interactive, really funny climb the Mount CTA session. If you're going to Dreamforce and you're in the agenda builder, just Google my name or Gemma's or Susanna's, and you'll see all our sessions come up. But we really want to take this week and connect with everybody that's part of Ladies Be Architect. And whether you're a lady or a non-lady, it doesn't matter. It means you're part of our community. It means that we're helping each other, that you're part of this. And we really want to meet up with you. We want to have a cup of coffee and get to know everybody a bit better. So we've got a hectic week, but reach out to. We really want to spend some time with you. Okay, so let's go back. Tonight, I'm going to talk about Heroku. And I started working with Heroku about 2 years ago. But for those of you guys that don't know me, I'm not technical. I am a technical architect, but I'm not technical. Code makes my head hurt. It takes me forever to really get into it. But once I'm getting into it, it's okay. But my nature is not technical. I grew up with Salesforce in 2005 when Salesforce was very ugly and it was pretty much just accounts and contacts. And I learned first admin type stuff, functional. And then over the years, I started teaching myself Apex and Visualforce. I remember when they launched Visualforce, I don't remember the years, but I looked at it and I thought, I'll never understand this stuff. I'm never going to be able to do this. And Apex, I just got the hang of S controls and then they replaced it with Apex. And now I feel like I've just got the hang of Apex and now they're changing it to Lightning. But that keeps us on our toes. The point I'm trying to make is I'm not a techie. I'm not a hardcore techie. I didn't study programming. I didn't study technology. I actually studied nursing. So I can give you an injection if you need one. But Heroku, to me, it spoke to me because it's so powerful, but it's also so easy to use. It took me a while to wrap my head around Heroku and where I can use it and how I can use it. And as an admin, slash architect, slash functional, slash all of these hats that I have to wear, it makes my life a whole lot easier if I need Heroku capabilities, just because it is so powerful. So when Blanca asked me if I wanted to spend some time with you guys tonight, I looked at the exam guide for PD1 and I thought, what is the study guide asking about Heroku? And there was only these 7 words: customization and features of the Heroku platform. And I thought to myself, that covers so much. The Heroku platform is absolutely huge. So I haven't done the PD1 exam in quite a while, so I don't remember if there were, what Heroku questions were on there, or what type of questions. I know there are a couple of trail mixes on Trailhead specifically geared. So I thought what I'll do tonight is I want to explain Heroku to you. I want to show you how I understand it and how I use it. And I'm pretty sure that's going to give you maybe not the exact information you need for the exam, but it's going to make you understand it. And then it's going to be easy for you to go and answer any questions about it. I also want you to ask questions throughout. Don't wait till I'm finished because I can talk a lot. If you have a question, just interrupt me. I'd like you guys to talk to me. I want you at the end of the session to say, I really understand Heroku and I understand how to use it. All right, let's kick. So what is Heroku? Heroku is purple, first of all. Let's look at Salesforce as a platform. Salesforce over the years have evolved into one platform for developers, admins, and ISVs. We all know that people can build their apps and sell it. And there's a lot of components on them. If you look at the main themes, you can compose. It's trusted. You can automate. There's a community. You can use the ecosystem. Go to mobile. You can analyze. You can do Internet of Things. You can connect. You can extend. You can care for your dev teams, and you have artificial intelligence. So this platform is growing and becoming more and more powerful. And where Heroku fits into the platform is about extending the platform. It's about taking the platform and reaching out to other platforms, other back office systems, data systems, other mobile apps, and using that capability of bringing it back to the platform and then using the power of the platform to process it. So Heroku fits into the extend theme on the platform. What does that really mean? So on-premise, we all know on-premise. This is where you manage all of it. This is where you have your own internal network. You have big storage, usually it's rooms or buildings full of servers. You have to persist your own virtualization. You have to run your own operating systems. You have middleware that you've put on a server somewhere. You have to maintain it. You have to maintain the runtime, the data, and the application. That is on-premise. That's the world we came from before cloud. Then we have infrastructure. So infrastructure as a service, for example, Amazon Web Services. Amazon manages the network, the storage, the servers, and the virtualization, but you still manage the operating system, the middleware, the runtime, the data, and the applications. You're just using the infrastructure. Then you have platform as a service. So the networking, storage, server, virtualization, operating system, middleware, and runtime is managed by Heroku. All you have to do is manage the data and the app. So that is using not just infrastructure, but also the platform. So runtime, middleware, and operating system is also managed. And then you have software as a service, like Service Cloud or Sales Cloud, where everything is managed by somebody else. The application, the Service Cloud application, those objects, cases, solutions, knowledge base, the consoles, those things are managed by Salesforce. Yes, you can configure it, and yes, you can customize it, but that's managed by Salesforce. The data, that data structure, so when you put a record into Salesforce, you create a new case, that record gets saved into a database. That database, we don't even know what those databases are. We don't know where they sit. Well, we could figure it out, but the fact is they manage it. We don't have to worry about it. So software as a service is the full stack. And platform as a service, where Heroku comes in, is almost the full stack, except you manage your data in your applications. I hope that makes sense. So let's explain Heroku. Heroku is a platform. You just saw what it meant to be a platform. And it let you build, deliver, and monitor and scale apps, bypassing all the infrastructure headaches. It lets you focus on your apps. So typically, when you have an idea, I want an app where when I go to Dreamforce, I can fill in people's names and telephone numbers, people I meet, so that I can match up with them. That's an idea. So typically, you would have to go set up the infrastructure. It's okay. Let me go rent some AWS space or Google platform or Azure. Let me install an operating system on it. If I want to, I can containerize it. So I can use Rocket or Docker. I then have to put that data into a storage. So I have to spin up a Postgres database or a RDS or a SQL database. Then I have to orchestrate the containers. So I'll use Swarm or Marathon. And then I have to put in my networking. I have to figure out what's my load balancing. I have to figure out how the data is being routed from the app to my data and into the container. How does it scale? I have to set up DNS. And then I have to monitor it. And there's logging involved as well. So usually all of this needs to happen when you have an idea in order for you to have an app. And that's a lot of work. Now what Heroku does, it takes all of that away. All you have to do is write your code app. You deploy it. You manage it. In other words, you say, I want a bit more power. Let's spin up some more dynos. And you can scale it automatically, and it gives you an app. All of that is taken care of for you. How amazing is that? The containerization, the orchestration of them, the swarms, the storage. Where are you going to store? Where are you going to put that MySQL database? Where are you going to put that Postgres database? The networking, the load balancing. What if I meet 10,000 people and I want to put in 10,000 records in 5 minutes? Is my database going to crash? How's it going to manage the influx of the data? How is it going to route it effectively? All of that is sorted out with Heroku, which makes it so very, very powerful. Any questions? All right then. But how does it really, really work? So Heroku's got 3 main parts to it, I guess. The first one is dynos, the other one is data, and the other one is add-ons. So I want to quickly take you through it. I don't want to go too technical on how it works. There's the most impressive documentation on Heroku's website about all of this, but I just want to explain the main concepts for you. So a dyno is like a worker. It's a container that run your application code. If you put an application on Heroku, you put it into a dyno, and this dyno is a container that contains your application, and it can scale. So if you need more processing power, you can add more dyno. If you update your app, it'll automatically be deployed into a different dyno so that you keep audit trail and integrity through the different versions of your apps. So dyno is the worker. it's like I still haven't come up with a really good analogy, but I always just think of it's the place where things happen. That's where it's a container that runs your code. Add-ons. We know what add-ons are. I'm going to flick to Heroku's website to show you. Heroku, wrong website. Heroku has an app store. It's not called an app store. It's not called the App Exchange. It's just called the add-ons. But people have built apps that you might want to use, and you can add them into your Heroku application as an add-on. So if you work on a Postgres database and you want to have a way to admin that data, you could just install a Postgres. Sorry, you can just install a data tool. If you want to connect to Salesforce, you install the Heroku Connect add-on, an application that they built that's got all the logic in it that will make the connection to Salesforce. If you want to monitor your Redis database, or you can go through, there's so many, and it makes it so easy to work with the applications that you want to deploy. But it's an app store, that's what it is. Okay. And then database. Heroku allows you, out of the box, to install and manage a Postgres, a Redis, or Kafka data instances, and you can share them among apps. So I could have a Who Did I Meet at Dreamforce app, and I can say my weekly email app, who sends out my weekly newsletter, and both of those applications on Heroku can access a central database, the same database, making it a lot easier. So you can share them among apps. Any questions about the core components of Heroku before we move on?
I don't see any questions, but if you all haven't checked the chat box, Andy shared a link to a new Salesforce project on Heroku. So check out the chat box. And then I think I saw Mark dial in, and I remember him mentioning dynos back, maybe it was during week 1 of content, in that that is a reference that we need to know definitely for the certification exam.
Okay. I want to see Andy's link now. Hang on. You said Andy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, I saw that. Yes, I saw this. I actually did this one. This is very awesome. I'm going to show you a lot of it tonight live. So when you come and do this trailhead, you'll have a really good understanding of what you're doing. But this is a really nice project. Thanks for sharing the link. All right, where are my slides? Okay, so how does Heroku work? The developer deploy their code into Heroku and in an app. You go create an app and you deploy your code into it. Then the apps run in dynos. Remember, it's a little bit of a container. So the app run inside those dyno. These dynos are smart containers. You then manage your app either in the Heroku dashboard or through the command line interface. And I'll show both of you and how you manage it. The data is in a scalable backing services. So you can add the add-ons and the services to manage your data, but because they're on smart containers, they're inherently scalable. And then users who use your app make a request. The servers and the dynos route those commands to the right places, and your app is running. That's in effect how it works. So I want to show you this picture. So Heroku is this blue building here, and Heroku users access apps through the public internet that connects to, or apps that are built on Heroku. Heroku manages the data. It keeps logs. It orchestrates the APIs, but also the containers. It manages the runtimes. It's got an API layer, so you can make callouts and accept incoming call-ins. You can add add-ons like Heroku Connect, which will seamlessly connect to your Salesforce. I like this pipe because it is effectively a pipe that you build between Heroku Connect, the application, a data store or a database, and your Salesforce. But now a lot of companies who needs this technology also have security constraints. So Heroku allows us to have private spaces. Heroku is inherently running on AWS. So using the VPC, the virtual private spaces offered by AWS, you could now have private Heroku instances. So it's a fully managed private space specifically for a customer. So nothing is shared. Everything is secure. And you can incorporate VPN in there. So you use the Amazon VPC, you use your apps, and you do your connections. But your private space is specifically for a customer. And then through the Heroku dashboard, you can manage all these virtual private spaces. So this is just showing the private spaces architecture. I'm not going to go into detail with this. And now the other cool thing about Heroku is we all know from projects, or if you maybe haven't had the opportunity to work on big projects where you have to have code deployments and source code management. So you have to somehow figure out the tools. How are you going to back up your code and your metadata and your source code from Salesforce into a repository so that developers don't overwrite it, and then you deploy to Git and you have a branching structure. That's a whole other subject we can talk about, but Heroku natively allows us to use Heroku Flow. It's a wonderful tool to manage complete continuous integration and delivery workflow. So through the Heroku CLI, you can, and the Heroku Flow app, you can do pull requests. I'm going to show you the sequence. So on the tip of the master, you'll create a branch as a developer, you'll make changes, and you'll commit it. You'll then create a pull request. A review app is automatically created by Heroku. And then each new change updates the review app. Then testers can preview, discuss, and test this review app. Reviewers can approve the changes. And then the branch is ready to be merged. It is merged, and then the app gets deployed to staging. So it's a really cool piece of functionality how changes are delivered in a review app. So you keep out of your staging environment, you're keeping out of your production environment, and you're making it easy for people to give comments and approve or reject changes that you've delivered as part of this change in this branch. So, but then you'll deploy the app to staging. People can, again, in the staging environment, kind of like a UAT, review, discuss, and test the app. And then with one button, literally one button, you click it and promote, and it promotes that app to your production instance. And then your app is in production and you go, voila! And it's all managed by Heroku. You've got auto-deployed to staging. So these are all the review apps. And it auto-deploys to staging when you're ready. And then when you press that button, it promotes to production. So it makes your DevOps a lot easier as well. And this is just a screenshot of the promotion to production. All right, let me stop there. Any questions on this? So that is a core capability of Heroku. as continuous integration and deployments through using the Heroku Flow product.
And if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute your lines and ask. You don't have to just type it in the chat box.
Absolutely. I kind of not like just talking to myself the whole time.
I understand.
And I hate not being able to see anybody, but oh well.
You know, we had some issues with audio, I want to say the last 2 sessions, which is why we're not sharing our webcams.
I understand. All right, let's move on and let's get to the fun things. Salesforce and Heroku. Remember that picture I showed you where you've got the pipe going from the Heroku application into Salesforce? And remember in the add-on store, I showed you the Salesforce, the Heroku Connect app. What Salesforce, the Heroku Connect app allows you to do is create a small application in Heroku and then have this connect engine that you connect to Salesforce. And I'm going to show you live how to do this. And it's automatic. It's so intelligent. It's bi-directional or one-directional. You can choose, and it's extremely secure. And then connecting to Salesforce. I don't know what happened to my Salesforce color. It seems like it's hiding, but Salesforce is there. So think about, you'll have an app. I think this app is like a what do you call it, a navigation, a Uber type app or a driving app, where the user can see his mileage and he can see how far and his fuel costs and how many hours and how many miles and where he's going to. Now imagine you built this app and you want that data back into Salesforce. And you've built this app using Python or Ruby on Rails, just like you would normally do. How do you get that data in your Salesforce? Go through Heroku. Because with Heroku Connect, you install Heroku Connect, you spin up a Postgres, or you could a Redis or an RDS or any other data source you want. But typically it's a Postgres. You spin up a Postgres. So the data from this app goes into the Postgres. And through Heroku Connect, you automatically map and match that data to your objects in Salesforce. So now you have an easy, fantastic way without having to write REST API calls between your app and Salesforce for that data to get into Salesforce through a Postgres database. Does that make sense? Because this is kind of the crux, what this is all about. It's important that you understand it.
I think it makes sense, and it's actually very exciting because I'm already thinking about ways maybe we can look at some of how things were developed at my place of employment and look at, why don't we introduce Heroku for some of this?
Absolutely. I tend to use Heroku a lot these days. Every time it seems like I look at an integration requirement, I think, oh, Heroku will make my life a lot easier here. And once I show you how it works, you'll see why it is so easy. So just think about this for a second. If you've got a Salesforce and you build these custom objects, so car and a driving record and a route record, and you build all these objects, you could just use the Salesforce mobile app out of the box and expose that to your customer or to your internal users who uses it, right? But it's going to look like Salesforce. And sometimes you need your app to not look like Salesforce. So then you need to get mobile app developers, and you have to go through that whole mobile thought process. Or are we going to build something just for iPhone or Android? Are we going to build something that works in a browser? Or are we going to build an app that works across browsers and across operating systems if you don't want to use the native Salesforce app? And when you've done, if say you decide to build a completely custom app, you now have to think of how are you going to integrate this app to Salesforce. So now you're getting into real coding world. And sometimes it's not necessary. That's when you start thinking about maybe let's look at Heroku. It doesn't always it's not always mobile either. You might have a event registration application that's on the desktop, and you could just expose that through a community to people out of the box for Salesforce. But sometimes you don't. You have to change the user experience in such a way that you can't use the Salesforce look and feel or the Salesforce communities. Licenses you have to think about. But whatever the case is, if you come to a point where you have to have this custom app, and you can't use the Salesforce out of the box apps or communities, then you have to think about how you're going to get that data into Salesforce. And that's when you start thinking about Heroku. Always remember that. All right. Was there a question?
No questions, but there is some comments. So Mark mentioned that one of the best things it helps with organizations to leverage their existing developers, and that they don't really need to know Salesforce to build apps that leverage and connect to Salesforce. And then Andy threw out a really cool statement here that Melissa couldn't believe, but he says, remember, no API calls are used with Heroku to Salesforce connections.
Absolutely. Because Heroku is part of the Salesforce platform, there's no API call. So you're not going to hit those limits, and you're not going to break your Salesforce, which is a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. And I read something last week or 2 weeks ago when I was prepping for the mobile study group. They estimate for your company, if your company decides that, listen, we want to build a mobile app, and we want to build it using native to iPhones or native to Android, that you should by default think that your minimum cost is going to be like from $500,000 to $10 million in order to develop this. And I was thinking, that is ridiculous money. But when I dug into it, it's about the scarcity of Swift and iOS and Android developers, because everybody wants a mobile app, and I don't think the skill set is keeping up with it. So Mark, your comment is absolutely spot on. If you build a Python or a Ruby on Rails or a Java or any of the other languages apps, most companies have loads of those developers. Let them build it. Let the UX and the creative teams and you as a Salesforce admin and say, I know how to get that data from that app back in to your Salesforce, and it's not even going to cost us any developers. All right. So what are the benefits with the Heroku Connect architecture? The developers know how to write apps against databases. There's automatic bidirectional data sync. It doesn't have to be bidirectional, and I'll show you guys that, because sometimes you really don't want bidirectional, but it can be bidirectional. It's a point-and-click interface for connecting database fields with objects and fields in Salesforce. Remember when I said when you've got your app, now with Heroku Connect, you can map and match the data coming from the application. So the mileage and the route and the car brand or whatever, map it to the right object, and it's drag and drop. It's really easy. It also supports multiple Salesforce orgs, which makes it a lot. You can, especially when you have a deployment process, you can create a dev app and a staging app and a UAT app and an end-to-end app and a production app. So, and connect that app to all the different orgs that you're working with. It supports Salesforce custom objects, and there you have it. It can dramatically reduce the Fortacom API call frequency. Okay, moving on. All right, let's get hands-on. So, before I started getting technical and people told me to use the CLI, I would have a minor heart attack.
I think when we were doing one of the trailheads a few weeks ago, we were having minor heart attacks too.
And sometimes I still, when I open this, I go like, oh, this keeps. Nobody ever taught me the language how to work with this thing, and that's what Heroku is so easy. So for those, I don't have a Windows machine, so I can't show you, but to get to your terminal or your command line interface. On the Mac, you'll go to Utilities, and you'll open your terminal. And then if you want to be fancy, you can make it different colors. See? I've seen the hardcore programmers always code in black. But black makes my eye hurt, especially this green.
And Melissa is saying this is understand from back in the day writing Fortran and COBOL and BASIC.
Yeah.
Oh, COBOL. I can relate to that, Melissa.
All right. So what do we want to do? Let me take a step back. First thing you do is you go to a browser, and I'm in the wrong browser. It shouldn't matter. And you go to Heroku. And you create an account. You sign up. Doesn't cost anything. I've already got an account, so I'm just gonna log into my account. And I've enabled two-factor authentication through the Salesforce authentication app. So I have to go find the app first. And type in my code. That's right. Okay. So this brings me to my Heroku account. Out of the box, personal free accounts, you can have 5 apps. And after 5 apps, they say, oh, you have to change your type of account and start paying. So I tend to play with stuff and then I delete it, and then I play with them and I delete them. I never go over my 5. For enterprise, teams can be created, and they can be secure enterprise teams shared with roles and profiles and permissions. And then you can access them from the same dashboard. And this is what we call the Heroku dashboard. So to manage your apps, remember we said earlier, you can do it either from the dashboard or from the CLI. Now, in order to manage it from the CLI, you have to install the Heroku CLI. And that is as easy as going to this URL and click on download and install and download. Even I can do that. So once it's installed or once it's downloaded, and the same for Windows machines or Ubuntu's, there's other more complicated installation methods if you are into those kind of things. But I like clicking executable files and let them do it for me. So just install. Why is it taking so long? It's actually it's already installed, so it's probably just overwriting everything.
And I think that's where some of us get hung up, right? Because I'm new to some of these, and I know when I was doing a Trailhead module a few months ago, I started downloading and installing Docker, and there was a certain point where I got lost, and I had to like step away, take a break, come back the next day or so, and then try it again.
So I absolutely agree. So the second, my third step on the slide says, I've installed it now, but then it says to verify your CLI installation, use the Heroku version command. And then that makes me really upset, because for somebody like me that's non-technical, how do I use the Heroku version command? So over the years, luckily I've learned, if they tell you, I don't know why they can't just use words like type the following into terminal and tell me. Now they say it this way. But what you need to do is Heroku version is a command for the CLI. So use this command, and all you have to do is stick it in your, I just paste it using Control-C or Command-C, paste it in your terminal, and so it tells me that Heroku 7.14.1 is installed, and there's actually an update available. I'm not going to update it now. So that's how you verify that you've got Heroku installed.
And Olivia just added she got hung up on this too before.
It's because they use words like use the command. Just people should just write down, type into terminal, and then you understand, right? That should just, that makes a lot more sense. Right. Moving on. Now, in order to use the Heroku CLI, you need to make sure that Git is installed on your machine. Now, most machines these days come with Git pre-installed, but if it doesn't, and I'll share all these links, there is a really nice piece of article here telling you how to install it. But what you would do is you would first just check if Git is installed. And so type in git config. And if something comes up, you know it is in there. And then there's a couple of steps you need to follow. You need to set your username and email address. So I'm just going to copy that. Paste it into my, I'm not John Doe. I'm going to change my name to Charly Prinsloo. Not with the capital R. Oh, really? No, it's not working. I'm not going to troubleshoot it with you guys on the line. If all else fails, you close your terminal and you open a new one. Okay. I think it's not because I haven't initiated Git. I was doing this just before the call. I'll get back to you guys on this. I don't want to waste time because I want to show you the cool stuff. You've got to make sure Git is installed, and you do that with the Git commands. Git is on here. And when you put in Git and you get all the commands back, you know it's there. All right, so Git is installed. Now we can get back to the Heroku CLI. So we've typed in Heroku version, and it showed us what the version is. Now you want to log into Heroku. So I'm going to say Heroku login. And I think I need to I'm just checking this screenshot. No, just say Heroku login. And then it'll say to you, enter your login credentials. And I'm going to, I think it's because I'm already logged in, but I'm just going to type it in again. And it's asking for my password. And then it's going to ask me for my two-factor code, 689. And I'm logged in. So recap, download the Heroku CLI and install it onto your machine. Then you open your terminal and you verify that Heroku is installed by typing in Heroku --version or space -- version, and then it'll show you the version. And then once you see that you're successfully installed Heroku, you can then log in and then type in Heroku login, and then it'll ask you for your email and password, just like if you were to log in through the UI. This one. So I'm logged in. Does that all make sense? Okay, so what we want to do, this is just some info on Heroku Connect, and I think we've spoken about it, so I'm not going to go through this. So now what you need to do is, let's have a scenario. I have a Salesforce org, and I have Heroku, and I want to synchronize data between Salesforce and my Heroku Connect. So I need to have a database set up in Heroku. I need to have an app, and I need to create that pipe. That's what we want to do. We have an app but we'll just pretend we have one. We want to create the Heroku app. We want to link it to a data source, and we want to connect it to Salesforce, and we want to synchronize the data between these two. That's what we want to achieve, and we're going to do that in the next 10 minutes. So I have an org already logged in.
And did you say 10 minutes? That's all?
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Absolutely. Just as soon as I can find my Salesforce org. All right, just log in. Oh, there we go. So this is my own personal dev org, and my username is not that. Charly. No. Charly at my dev org. Right. So I have my username and your password. You need to be able to log in. So I'll just make sure this is my right org. Charly at mydevorg.com. See, I had it wrong. Org.com. All right. And I know what the password is. Now the first thing we're going to do is quickly create the app in Heroku. Then we're going to add the Heroku Connect add-on from the add-on store. We're going to set the database URL, I'll show you, and we're going to make the Salesforce connection. 5 steps, and then we've got this set up and running. So remember, we can do this 2 ways, either through the user interface or through the command line. It's much more fun doing it through the command line, so I want to show you that, but I'm going to first show you through, let me just log into this browser. I'm first going to show you from the dashboard. 13781. Great. So in the dashboard, it's as easy as going new, create new app. They don't like capitals. My new app 1. BD1. And you can choose a region. The region is about where your virtual space is hosted on AWS. So I'll just choose United States and I'll go create app. My app is created. If I go back to my dashboard home, I can see my app is created. So it's an empty app, but it's an app. We've just created a Heroku app. That's how you do it through the dashboard. It's really easy. How do you do it through the command line? It's just as easy. You will first create your app. So this piece of line of code is calling the Heroku program. And say add-ons, we want to create Heroku Connect, and the type is Danketsu. That just means it's a free version. And we want to name it this, and we want to put it in an app. Actually, I've skipped a step. This is when we add the Heroku Connect. I miss a slide. All right, let's skip that for a second. So we can create an app in the dashboard and we can create it on the CLI. But once we're in an app, what's the second thing we wanted to do? And I'm sorry about that. I'm going to go find that slide quickly. We've created our app. We now want to add the Heroku Connect add-on. So in the dashboard, it is as easy as add a add-on, configure add-ons. And then in the add-ons text box, you say Heroku Connect. Click on it. And it'll ask you which plan do you want. You want demo, enterprise, or shield. So we're definitely going to go for demo. And say, please provision it. So now the Heroku platform has installed the Heroku Connect add-on onto my application. And here it is. If I click on it, I can manage it there. That's pretty cool, right? So when I go to my app homepage, I can see any installed add-ons. I want to go back and create another app quickly. I'll call that my new app BD1 app 2. I'm going to create another app, and now I want to install Heroku Connect through the CLI. So I just installed it through the dashboard. I'm going to quickly install it through the CLI. So this is where I use this piece of code. I'm going to say Heroku add-ons, create Heroku Connect. We want the free version, which is Danketsu. We want to call it Heroku Connect. Let's call it PD1. And we want to put it in the app. And what's my app's name? My app's name is that. And I want to put it in that app. So I just replace that. And now I'm going to copy this text and paste it in my terminal. And then I'm actually provisioning the add-on through the CLI. Right. Creating Heroku Connect Danketsu on my new app, PD1 app 2, and it gave me an error. That add-on plan is only available to select users. Oh, because I'm doing this live, it's not going to work. But that is how you would add it. I'm going to take the, I think the Danketsu changed over the years. It's just created it. I think they changed the word Danketsu. Now, if I go and look at my app, I can see Heroku Connect's installed on it. How cool is that? So we've just used the CLI to install the app. So it's really not difficult, right?
No, I think that is very cool. And the people who are writing documentation for these need to figure out how to make the language as simple as what it is to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you go through the documentation, it doesn't feel this easy. And it even tells you here, we need to finish the setup by adding this command. But I want to go do the setup first in the dashboard quickly on my first app. So I'm now on my first app. I'm going to click on my add-on. And because my add-on hasn't been configured yet, it's going to take me into a setup wizard. So it's first going to say, I need to set up. So I'm going to click it. It's saying I'm adding Heroku Connect to this app. Please select the Postgres database and enter the schema name for storing your data. Now I don't have a Postgres database. So all I have to do, and I don't even know how to set up a Postgres database from scratch, but Heroku does that for us. So all I have to do is say, add a database now. So I'm going back to the add-ons and I install Heroku Postgres. I'm going to choose the free plan. And the app I'm going to provision it into is my new app PD1. And I click provision add-on. And that is how easy it is to provision a Postgres database into a Heroku application. Are you all stunned?
I'm surprised we don't have more
Absolutely
questions.
stunned. Speechless.
Good. It's magic. It's so easy. It makes our life so much easier. Anyway, so I've got a Postgres database now set up into this app. So I'm going to click on Heroku Connect again. I want to continue my setup. I'm going to say set up connection. And it says, oh, remember the previous time it said it couldn't find a Postgres database? So now it found it. So I'm selecting it and schema name. By default, it pre-populates Salesforce. So if you understand Postgres databases, you have to have a schema where under you create the tables. So you can name it whatever you want to. The Connect app automatically defaults it to Salesforce. And then you just click next. It's now initializing the database. It's just provisioned it. And now it says I have to link it to my Salesforce data. So my Charly dev org is a production instance. So I can just leave that as it is, and I can say authorize. And now it's going to go through single sign-on. because I'm already signed into my org, I can just get that one. And I have just, guys, I have in less than 10 minutes created an Heroku app, provisioned a Postgres database, and linked this app to Salesforce. That's what we've done. Now, let's click on mappings. So they say no Salesforce objects have been mapped. So let's create one. So it's loading all the objects from Salesforce. So let's say accounts. And it's bringing back all my fields from Salesforce. So I want, now I'm telling Heroku Connect, I want from Salesforce to database, poll every 10 minutes or every 60 minutes, and you can choose something in between. And from database to Salesforce, it's gonna poll on right in, but I can now use unique identifiers. So if I had an external ID field on account, it would have shown up into this checkbox or pick list. So now I can say I want to account name is already selected, the phone number, and shipping, street, and state, and account number. Let's do that. And I click save. So I've just selected a few fields. So what it's doing is it's now building this table in Postgres and creating the fields in Postgres. And it is synchronizing the data that is in my Salesforce org with my Postgres database. So my Postgres database on this app now contains a table called account with those fields, and it has got 13 rows of data in it. I didn't even have to open my Postgres database and go create tables, and Heroku connected everything for me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's incredibly intuitive.
It's so, so easy. And here on my mapping screen, it'll show me. So let me quickly go and fiddle with an account here. I'll create a new one. Account name Charly Test. For P1. Account number, we mapped that. So we'll just give it an account number. And I think we did shipping city. Where am I? I'm in St. Louis. Louis. How did you say I must pronounce it? Louis. And I'll save it. So if I go and look at my app, where's my app? Come back. There. As soon as it starts polling, we'll see there's a pending write and let me just open it. Poll now. Remember, now database is 14 and Salesforce is 14. It's fast and it's so powerful. So if I had my app, think about it for a second. If I have my app data that would have come into this Postgres from the application would be in seconds within Salesforce through Heroku Connect. Any questions?
Charlie, this is Suman.
Hey.
Hey, isn't that isn't that based on poll frequency that you set up for 10 minutes, or is that always instant?
No, you can set up the poll frequency. So, but remember, I just nudged it to poll now, so it was immediate. But you can set up the mapping and the poll frequency and how you want to manage that connection between the objects. So I've seen in projects where for some objects, we have a poll frequency of 60 minutes where we don't need the data updated because it's maybe not very critical operational data. For other, you want them as quickly as possible. You have the option to say accelerate polling, and then it initiates the streaming API automatically that will use event-based polling. So that will be pretty much real time if you accelerate the polling using the streaming API.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. So now you can carry on and create more and more mappings. So if I go to mappings, and I can, for each of the objects that I want, if I had a car and route and mileage, and I can create that mapping. And now, of course, I'm going to go to my developers and say, developers, now this is my Postgres database. And let me show you. You give them these information, say, this is my Postgres database. That's my port. That's my username. And that's my schema. You guys need to connect to this database. It's got a full structure. The tables are there. You have to now put the data from the app into this database. I'll pick it up and get it into Salesforce. And then I'll go have some coffee because I've already done it. So everything is here. And in my Heroku Connect dashboard, it's actually showing me I've got other Heroku Connect apps that's also, but it shows me there's something wrong with them. I haven't worked on them for quite a while, so I think they're not working anymore. But it's showing me my status of my app. Okay, let's go back and see what else we have to cover. So we've added Heroku Connect. Or the other very cool thing is you can retrieve an auth token from Heroku. If I go to terminal and I paste that in there, it'll give me an auth code. There it is. What can I do with an authorization code? One of the things I can do is I can now do REST API calls into my Heroku application. What I sometimes do to troubleshoot is I'll open Postman and using REST commands where I need this auth token, I'll then test some of the connections into my Heroku database. You could also create add-ons, delete add-ons, create apps, delete apps through REST API using other applications or using something like Postman if you wanted to. But this took, and the reason why I added a slide about this, it took me forever to figure out how to do this. But this is how you do it. All right, this took much quicker than I thought it would. I told Blanca I'd be able to go almost most of the session, but it was quick. So that's all I have for you guys. And so let's go back before I open it up for final questions. Is remember in the beginning we said, what do we want to achieve tonight? And that is for you guys to really understand what is Heroku. When somebody says, oh, let's use Heroku, you don't have to go like, oh, let me Google that quickly. Now you understand what it is. It's a platform. You deploy apps on it. And in that apps, you can put a lot of code in it. You can put Ruby on Rails and Python or Java or any app that is built in any of those languages, you can deploy onto that application. Or you can just use add-ons. In our world, in our Salesforce world, we typically use Heroku Connect, install it into an app that you created, and connect a relational database that you spin up in Heroku to your Salesforce to enable data synchronization. So
we have some good comments in here. So the last few ones, he said, this was fantastic. Thank you. And Melissa says, I really am speechless. And then she adds, she makes me laugh. I love her. And for those of you who know me, that is unheard of.
That's very kind. I just want to know that you guys understand it. So if somebody tells you tomorrow, how do you connect Salesforce to a Postgres through Heroku? Will you be able to tell them? That's what I would want to know. Because that's
Sumat says yes.
okay.
And then we can tell them, and we can do it in less amount of time that I can explain it.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, there's something else. I didn't plan on going through this with you tonight because I only had 45 minutes initially. So I might trip myself up. But there's another way to integrate Salesforce with Heroku. What I've just showed you was Heroku Connect. There's also Salesforce Connect. So let me get to my org. And I have to remember how this works. I'm sure I will be able to. Salesforce Connect is the functionality where you create, maybe it's not enabled. Salesforce Connect, let me just talk through it then. Salesforce Connect is where you have external data. So we've just spun up a Postgres database, and we've got an application that is pushing data from an app into Postgres. Where's my slide? So we have an app, and it's pushing user data into a Postgres database. Now, I want to work with that data in Salesforce. But say these root records, the average user is saving 10 routes a day, and we have 400,000 customers who use our app. What's going to happen with the data through Heroku Connect? I am going to be creating 4 million records, root records, into my object every day. What does that do to my data storage? What does it do to my system performance? Now I have to think, oh, maybe that's not such a great idea. Maybe I don't want that data in my Salesforce. And then my boss says to me, but I want to pull a report on it and I want to be able to see it. And then I say to him, you know what? Let's use Salesforce Connect. Because what does Salesforce Connect do? Instead of us pushing that data physically from Postgres through Heroku Connect into Salesforce, Salesforce Connect creates external objects in our Salesforce. And it then shows you the data from the Postgres database into Salesforce, but it doesn't actually copy the data. So we don't have to worry about our data limits. The data still resides in Postgres. The users can see it and interact with it. They can even update it in Salesforce, but the data never actually is copied into Salesforce. That's Salesforce Connect. Then my boss can say, oh, Charlie, you're a genius. Let me give you a raise. And then I'm going to say, not so fast, because when we use Salesforce Connect, every time I open a page, say I want to go look at a route, or I look at an account and I see a related list of the routes, it consumes an API call because it's calling out to the Postgres, retrieving the data and showing it on the page. So you've got to keep that in mind. But it is a really good solution when you do not want to store all that data in Salesforce. So how would you set it up? You would go to your org, or go to external data sources, and I'll say my dodgy Postgres. And we want to use Salesforce Connect. I can't remember how to do this. This is my Postgres URL. Sorry guys, this is what you do when you show people stuff you haven't done in years. Let's see. Go to settings, manage database. That should be my host URL. I don't think this is going to work, but that it might. You would then put your URL, where's this data hosted? And you can now configure it. So it's going to be high data volumes. We want to be able to write to them. So we want users to be able to, I don't know, I can't take that. There's a couple of settings here. And do you need authentication? So if I hit that URL, is it going to ask me for a username and password? And it's most probably are. But let me just leave it at that for now. And then I'm going to hit save. And when you hit save, Salesforce makes a call to this URL. And when it does the call to the URL, it sees the OData protocol is actually investigating the table structure in the Postgres. And then it brings it back to Salesforce and it asks you, which one of these tables do you want to create as an external data object? And then you say which ones, and then you can work with them in the external object section, where you can add fields, you can create relationships between these external objects and my internal standard or custom object. And then you just put them on page layouts. And what that means is every time if I open one of these external objects, it looks like an object in Salesforce. I can even create a tab for it. When I open it, it's calling out to this Postgres database, retrieving the data from that object and showing it in the Salesforce UI. I'm sorry, I can't show you a full demo on how it works. But are there any questions around this? Does this make sense?
I did not see any questions in the chat box, but folks, feel free to type them in or unmute your line. And Mark did send a comment. He said, one of the cool things in the summer release for apps that need data security, you can use the Shield version of Heroku Connect with Salesforce Shield platform encryption and have secure encrypted data between your app and Salesforce easily. No double configuration or encryption like other platforms.
I feel I can kiss Salesforce for rolling this out. About 2 years ago, I was in a project where we implemented Heroku Connect. And what we needed to do is the data needed to be secured or encrypted, because the transportation of the data between Heroku and Salesforce is TLS and SSL. So it is secure, but the data needed to be encrypted. So what we needed to do is we created, say we needed social security number and birthplace, the two fields that needed to be encrypted when it goes into the Postgres. We created 2 fields, extra fields, so it'll be social security encrypted and birthplace encrypted. And then we wrote a piece of code that whenever that value changes or updates or inserts, we ran a crypto class that encoded using the keys, and then it'll paste the encoded value into those custom field we created, and then we would sync that custom field containing the gobbledygook data into Heroku. And then the developers on the other side, when they accessed that data out of Heroku, they had the same key. So they could decrypt the data and display it in the app. So it was a lot of hard work. I think we had over 200 fields that we needed to encrypt into Postgres from Salesforce. And
wow.
It was a huge development effort just to build those crypto classes and to store the keys securely. And it was a nightmare. So this is a fantastic addition to Heroku. All right, so Melissa said, so Charlie, how would you decide which to use? Heroku Connect would incur data storage charges, but Salesforce Connect would incur API call charges. So you have to think of the bigger picture. Data storage charges, I've yet to see an org that, well, no, I have. But it's not that often where you reach your data storage. So to me, that's a lesser risk, but you have to go sit and do the calculations. You draw up a spreadsheet and you say, I'm expecting this many records every month for these objects, and you do a whole data sizing exercise. I actually have a spreadsheet I built to do, for every project I do this data sizing exercise to see where, because your other implications are LDV, large data volume. If you have large data volume objects, Salesforce is built these days to cater for large data. So 20 million and more records in an object, but it impacts how you run queries and how you index. And so there's other things you need to think of. But yes, okay. So if you use Heroku Connect, that data will reside in Salesforce. So you need to think about large data volumes. You need to think about storage space. If you use Salesforce Connect, you need to think about the API calls. You also have to think with Salesforce Connect about the ability to really interact with that data, because they'll see it in a record as if it's an object, a real residing record on the Salesforce platform, and they'll be able to edit it, but you can't, for example, write formula fields on it. And you can't, for example, do some of the process automation on them because that data doesn't reside on the database. So there are other implications by choosing Salesforce Connect. I know a while back we couldn't report on it, but I do think we can. You can report on external objects now. I don't recall. So from a project-to-project point of view, you'll just have to sit and draw up those pros and cons and see which one will work best for that specific project.
Oh, and Mark added that we can report on external now.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Any other comments? Okay.
I think everybody maybe needed some coffee.
I think so.
I actually had some because it's been hard with baby Blazer being sick to sleep. I
Yeah.
had some right before this.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Blanca.
Thank you, Charlie. I know you are very, very, very busy, but we were all stumped when the word Heroku came up. And we were like, what does this mean? How do we do this? So thank you for squeezing us in.
Of course, of course. And while you're doing your study work and you're busy prepping for the exam, if you've got a question, just ping me anytime, really. I don't mind. Twitter me, email me, Facebook me, whatever you need to, send a smoke signal. I'm always happy to help.
And for everyone who's still on the call, if you're going to Dreamforce, find Charlie and the crew. You
Yes.
don't want to miss any of the ladies and our allies from Ladies Be Architects.
Absolutely.
And take photos for me so I can see you all.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Charlie.
Bye.
Bye.